Welcome, everybody.
Welcome to SacHacks. What are you most excited about this time?
Well, I'm most excited about seeing what projects everyone has is ready to come up with. I'm sure everyone's excited and coming up with lots of ideas, forming different teams. I'm really excited to see what everyone's coming up with for all the different tracks and prizes that we offer.
Yeah, I'm really excited to look at all the projects as well. Last year we had some amazing ones, which we love going through, and we are highly looking forward to going through all of your projects again. But anyway, let's get started. Welcome to our opening presentation, and welcome to our fifth event. As always, we are very excited to be here. To get started, let's quickly go over what SacHacks is, right? SacHacks is the first major intercollegiate hackathon in the Sacramento, California area. And our goal is to provide a place such that you could bring your ideas and have a friendly competition between the hackers during a 24-hour period to truly bring your idea to life.
And the best thing that I find very unique with our hackathon is we're not like a typical hackathon where you need to have really good skills in coding or development skills with computer science. You can come with any sort of experience. All you need to do is just be ambitious and creative with whatever project that you want to create. We have three different tracks and ideologies, and this has been our motto ever since we started SacHacks in 2017. And that's design, code, and launch. With design, you can craft anything that you want. You can craft a prototype for an application that you've always been thinking about, or an idea that you've always thought about and you want to put it in design. And you can develop any project that you want or you've dreamt of. You can find any teammates in any of these tracks and participate along with them and create projects with them. And of course, what we offer unique here is the launch category, where you can participate and just create a pitch deck and a presentation video for any startup idea that you have. So you can bring all of these together. You can participate in all of them, or you can participate in any individual one of them. And the best thing is you can form teams with people who are really good in any of these categories. So you might, let's say, you might bring the best of the world of development, and somebody else might bring the best of the world in design, and you both can create a really good project together. So really excited to see if you find a lot of people unique and different in terms of their skills, but similar in terms of their ideology and what you want to create. And we're really excited to see what you can create with all these options.
Yeah, they make the best use of this unique platform that SacHacks provides, where you can indeed interact with a variety of people who are experts in a variety of fields. So yeah, make use of it. All right. Moving on to our schedule for this hackathon. Uh, right, the first thing on the schedule is the opening presentation. Which, if you're seeing this right now, good job. You've already done the first thing in this hackathon. Uh, this opening presentation would go on for a few minutes, and then it will be followed up by a presentation from uh, from our sponsor, IBMZ. This presentation would give you all the information you need to leverage the IBMZ platform to bring your idea to life. Following that, hacking starts at 10:30 a.m. And we also have a team mixer here. If you do not have a team yet, do not worry about it. We have a forum called Form a Team on Discord. You could go there, create a post, or reply to a pre existing post to help find your team. And something else with that is that we will have a check in form that we will release as soon as this presentation is over. In that form is where you officially tell us who your team is going to be. And it also has a few things regarding the code of conduct and the expectations that we have for you to make this a safe space, which we'll be discussing about later. In terms of workshops, our first workshop is going to be at 11 a.m. today. It is going to be about TensorFlow, providing a six-step learning journey. And this is going to be done by one of our closest partners, GDSE at UC Davis. Following that, the next workshop we will have will be about how you could build better designs and for UIs, even if you're not necessarily a designer. And this is going to be at 12 p.m.
And following that, after a break at 2 p.m., we'll join for a special workshop on integrated machine learning for your application. So you learn a lot about the basics of integrating ML into any project that you're creating, and you'll be able to do that right after the workshop and with whatever you learn from there. And at 4 p.m., we have a special workshop from our returning workshop host for building a chatbot with Google's MakeSuit, Angular, and Palm API. And after that, we'll be done with the workshops for the day. And at 7 p.m., we'll have a slight rundown with a game of Scribble Showdown that'll be held with our SacHacks team, where you can just relax, code, and have fun, play games, play Scribble primarily. And at 9 p.m., we'll have this new game called Pitch Review. So we'll be having the opportunity to review two different pitches, and we'll be discussing what pitch was better in what terms. And at the end, you'll be discussing hypothetically which company would you prefer to invest in. And once that's over, that'll be it for the day. And all of these timings are in Pacific time. And over the night at 2 a.m., the time does shift by 1 hour. So it changes over to Pacific Standard Time. And on the next day at 10:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, the hacking does end.
So just to be clear, because clocks shift back by 1 hour, there will be 25 hours to hack because we want to make sure there is no confusion. And if you're an international participant, please make sure to convert the times properly to your particular time zone or use a standard time zone like UTC. Uh, in most of our materials, especially the acceptance emails we sent out, we also provided the time in UTC for all of our major events. So I highly recommend you to go by that if you're an international participant who's not based in the Pacific time zone.
And prior to all the workshops, within about 10 minutes prior to it, we will be sending announcements on Discord. And there are Discord events set up as well. You can just go on the top left of the server and click on events, and you can look at any information about the event as well as the YouTube links. And if not, you can subscribe to our SacHacks YouTube channel right now and click on notify me on any of the videos that are live. And we have all of them lined up on preview. So you'll be able to click on any of them right now, and just you can wait for it before the workshop starts as well.
Finally, we have our closing presentation at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on November the 5th. And during this presentation is when we'll be announcing our winners. So, yeah, I'm really, really excited to be with y'all here today and tomorrow to go through the entire hackathon.
So this year we have a really exciting set of workshops, all really built and worked along with them to have the best experiences and the best ideas presented to everyone. We have people presenting in all sorts of different fields and all sorts of activities, not just for coding, but startups as well and design. So we really hope that you're excited for it. And let's have a short look into each and every workshop that we're going to have today.
First up, we have the TensorFlow workshop, which I mentioned. This is going to be conducted by our very own Sham Agrawal, who, apart from being a VP of Logistics at SacHacks, is also the president of the UC Davis chapter of GDSC. And in this workshop, we will be building from the basics and getting familiar with TensorFlow, which is a powerful framework for deep learning and machine learning by Google. We will embark on a systematic and step-by-step exploration of TensorFlow in 6 easy steps.
And for the next workshop at 12 p.m., we will have a workshop hosted for UI designing for non-designers by Bryce Houston. He's a Google developer expert and a UX engineer. And so every project that you create, you always can't be expected to find designers for your project. And sometimes a lot of developers end up going with the barest of designs, and it always now isn't the best solution. So what we're going to have in this workshop is Bryce is going to teach us a lot about creating different using different design resources to create and enhance interface aesthetics and reducing any obstacles within the design, and pretty much just an introduction into design for basic development for all sorts of non-designers. And I'm sure that I could use this workshop, so I'm sure that everyone's excited for it as well.
I'm personally really, really looking forward to this workshop
Yeah.
because I just recently ended up building a project and designing it was not fun.
Yeah.
So I'm sure uh, among the people who would be there, I would also be one of them
Prop
listening to the workshop.
yeah, props to the UI UX designers out there.
Yep. All right. The next workshop is going to be about integrating machine learning models into your applications. This workshop provides a hands on introduction to applied machine learning, focusing on the practical use of the Hugging Face API and ChatGPT GPT API to seamlessly incorporate powerful machine learning models into applications that you're developing.
And for the next workshop, we'll have it hosted at 4 p.m. by Alain, who's a Google developer expert. And this workshop is really exciting. It's about building a chatbot with Google's Maker Suite, Angular, and Palm API. And during this workshop, I'm sure during this hackathon, plenty of people are interested in using AI tools and using chatbots to come up with different solutions using AI. And this is pretty much the best time to create any application with AI since that's all that's going around in the tech world. So I'm sure that everyone will be excited, and you don't need to have any prior knowledge in artificial intelligence to attend this workshop. And within a couple of hours, I think Alan will be able to teach you how to. I mean, the workshop will be for an hour, but he'll teach you enough for you to build a chatbot within a couple of hours, and I'm really excited for that. I'm really excited to see what the creative solutions everyone comes up with using AI APIs and different tools.
Definitely. All right. Coming up next, we will have two of our social events. One is a Scribble Showdown, which, as the name implies, would be a fun game where uh, some of us get together to play a game of Scribble.io. Followed by that, as we described, we'll also have an innovation incubator event where we're going to be comparing multiple different pitches. And I would say, as someone who is going to be submitting to a hackathon, this event would be really, really useful to kind of see how pitches work so that you can structure your pitch in a way that is as good as it can be.
Which one of these two are you most excited for?
I'm really excited for the innovation incubator one.
Yeah, I feel like with Innovation Incubator, you're going to get to see two of the best pitches that we choose out of the lot. And you're going to get to learn a lot from the different pitches with regards to setting time limits on talking about which part of your project and which part of your idea. So I think there's a lot to learn from that. And there's a lot to have fun as well with it.
Yeah, and also the insights from everyone else taking part in this event would also be extremely useful. As one of the best ways you learn is, of course, by discussing it with other people.
And the best way to relax after a long day of coding is, of course, playing some games. So I'm pretty excited for the Scribble Showdown as well.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. So some things to keep in mind is we have plenty of resources, and make sure the number one thing is make sure you are on Discord. It's the best way to reach out to us and any of us within the SacHacks team. All you need to do is go to either general if you have any questions in general, or go to the Hackathon questions channel to ask any questions about the hackathon. And if you want an answer, you can just tag at SacHacks team. It is a role on the server, and you will be able to tag them, and one of us will be able to reach out and respond to you as soon as possible. And we have channels for everything, including announcements, where we will be making announcements before every event, before 10 minutes of every event. And we have a schedule. So the channel with schedule, you'll be able to see whatever we've gone through so far about which time is what event and who will be hosting it and what it will be about. And of course, we have a channel for forming a team as well. So right after this is over or during this time, you will be able to text people and try to find people to form teams either with similar interests or different interests and different set of skills. So that's the primary way to go about it. And you can create a thread over there, and you can try to find a team with whatever requirements you have and whoever you want to work with. And of course, we have one with the workshops live stream links. So we have events set up within the Discord server as well as announcements for the workshop live streams. And yeah, I think the most important channel would be hashtag SacHacks Help, where you'll be able to get technical mentorship with any doubts or any questions you have relating with anything within your project or just anything in general.
Yeah, and you gotta love them automatic motion sensing lights for turning off when you're sitting in the middle of a presentation.
Of course,
Isn't that
we
amazing?
gotta love that.
You gotta love that. Yeah, and apart from that, something else that I'd like to highlight is make sure that when you're building a project, it's something that you could complete in 24 hours, because it is indeed one of the biggest challenges that we see a lot with projects. Like, people come up with these amazing ideas, but just make sure that it's something that you could complete. And if you have any questions, anything at all, please do not hesitate to ask. Uh, Use our SacHacks help channel if you need any help regarding any technical things, any questions about the hackathon, anything, and we'd be there to help you ASAP.
And in case if you haven't joined our server yet, the link is right here on the screen, bit.ly/SacHacks Discord, or you can scan the QR code right here on the screen as well. And yeah, pretty much just create a project that you think you can complete within 24 hours. You can submit your project if you're unable to complete as well, but if you want to be considered under the coding track, so we do recommend you to submit your project, a completed project. So we recommend you to take something up you think that you have some expertise in and you're really excited to build and you think it can be built within 24 hours, and it doesn't have to have every function running, just the primary function to see whatever you want to build out of the application. If that works, that should be good. You can look about the nitty gritty later after the hackathon, of course. You can continue to build these projects after the hackathon as well. We're just here to enlighten and give a space for your projects to come to life.
All right. I'm sure this is something that a lot of you have been waiting for, and we're finally getting there. And that's about our tracks and prizes.
So the categories we have this year has been the same as usual. We love our consistency over here at SacHacks. And what we're going with here is design, code, launch, and overall category.
In the design track, we have two different prizes. One is the best design with code, and the other one is best design without code. For the best design with code, each winning team member will receive a $50 gift card from either Amazon or the Figma store, based on their choice. And for best design without code, each team member will receive $25 uh, in gift cards of their choice.
And of course, for the coding projects, we have the best project gets Sennheiser 450 Bluetooth headphones. And I can tell you personally that those headphones are really good. And my friend over here actually has owned them for the past 2 years. And I've tried it on several times. It's really good. The quality is really good. I really recommend you competing in the hackathon primarily for the gifts, because for the prizes, well, I'm just talking about my own experience. So for runner-ups, we have Logitech G213 Prodigy gaming keyboards. They're really nice. They're really sleek. They're good mechanical keyboards with really good RGB lights, and you get a mouse along with it as well. And for the second runner-up position, we do have a mini projector. So if you end up winning that, you're gonna be able to watch movies in your room without a screen.
And just to highlight, as our platform sponsor for the event is IBMZ, to be able to eligible for any of our coding specific tracks, you would need to leverage their platform. And the next up, we have our launch tracks. There are two different launch tracks. The first one is having the best startup idea. Uh, for this particular track, we do not require code. Uh, for this, we primarily grade based on how good your pitch is and how realistic the idea is and how useful it's going to be. And the price for this is going to be a $500 investment split evenly between your team. Next up, for the launch track, we have the best social impact on IBMZ track. For winning which, you will receive a Beat Studio. Each member of your team will receive a Beat Studio canceling earbud.
And of course, the category overall, we have gifts for all sorts of things over here at SacHacks. And for the overall category and for the best overall hack in the entire hackathon, we'll be giving a 32-inch TCL Smart TV. And for the runner-up, for the best overall hack, we'll be giving the Keychron K2 version 2 keyboard. It's the mechanical keyboard that the image is inserted on the bottom, and It's honestly one of the best keyboards in the world, and it's been one of my dream keyboards for the past couple of years. And yeah, I'm sure that whoever gets it is going to be one lucky person, and I'm sure you'll love the keyboard.
Trust me, he's said this every single time we've brought up the topic of prizes. Every single time.
Keychron K2 is just too good. And of course, not to forget the best local hack. For people participating from UC Davis, we will be giving a mini drone. So that'll be pretty exciting for anyone, I'm sure. Like for flying a mini drone is always fun, and you can fly it in small spaces, including indoor areas. So I'm really excited for that.
Yeah, and if you're an international participant or in a region where we couldn't get any of these particular products, we'd be giving you the local equivalent product or the equivalent value in gift cards. All right. Coming up to the more serious topics of the event, these are our policies and expectations for all hackers at our event. Cheating is not allowed. Please work on your own projects and come up with your ideas and all the work you did only during the hacking period. If you have any questions regarding anything, please reach out to us. Uh, we are here to support you. Just make sure that you compete fairly. And the next thing is all hackers can only win in one prize category in each bucket. So you can either win best design with code or best design without code. You can't win both. Similarly, you can win one of the coding tracks, one of the launch tracks, and one of the overall tracks. So if you win in one design track, one launch track, and one of the overall tracks, yeah. But you can't win in two launch tracks or two design tracks.
Just to be clear, in each of these tracks separately, you will be able to participate in each of them and win them separately. But within each track, you will not be eligible for multiple prizes. And of course, not all the teams are like all the. You have to note that all the teams are automatically considered for our overall tracks, regardless of what design, code, or launch tracks that you pick during the submission. Since the overall is supposed to be considering all the projects that we receive for submission for SacHacks V, and to be eligible for the local hack, you must have a two-member team based either in Davis or in Sacramento area. So if you go to either a community college or work around in Davis or Sacramento area, you will be eligible for the best local hack.
And SacHacks is a safe space for everyone. We'd expect you to be respectful and avoid hate speech and anything else that would make others uncomfortable during the course of this event. Uh, we'd require you to go through the SacActs code of conduct and follow it wherever possible. This has also been linked in the check-in form and in a lot of other places. We highly recommend you to go through them as this details our expectations for our hackers so that we can maintain a safe and energetic space here at SacHacks.
And when you sign the check-in form, you are expected to agree to the SacHacks V code of conduct. I think it's the minimum that we can do to provide a safe space for everyone to come and create and showcase their ideas. And of course, we do not like if there are any incidents that occur during the event that are unfortunate. But in case something does happen and you do face some situation, we do have an incident reporting form, and you can access that right here on the link that's provided to you on the screen. And it is also available in our Discord server with all other resources. And you will be able to look at this and take this URL from our check-in form as well.
And this check-in form is this incident report form can be anonymous if you want it to be.
You
So,
don't need to provide your name, and your email won't be submitted along with the form.
all right. Coming up next, we have Alex from IBM to get started with the IBM presentation. Meanwhile, if you have any questions, feel free to put it in the chat, and we'd be happy to answer.
Hello, hi everyone. I'm Alex Asachi. Let me share my screen quickly here and we'll get started. All right. Can we get the screen sharing, please? Okay, there we go. All right. Okay. Yeah. Hi, everyone, again. I'm Alex Asachi from IBM and specifically from IBM Z part of the organization. And today I will introduce you to the enterprise computing with IBM Z and Linux One, as well as how you can access AI machine learning lab environment, which we have prepared for this event. The lab, which we have prepared, will let you experience AI machine learning on IBM Z platform firsthand, right? And then you'll be able to build some amazing solutions for the hackathon and submit them for the challenge. So this is where, like in this session, right? So in this hackathon, right? This is where the two powerful means will come together in a practical way. So one is IBM Z, which is mainframe technology, and another one is machine learning. And IBM Z is also known as IBM Linux One, right? And yeah, IBM Linux One is known in the Linux open world, right? But both are actually mainframe, and both are the IBM Z hardware, right? With a slightly different focus. And you can see both are on the picture here, right? The IBM Z has the blue kind of inserts, and IBM Linux One has an orange inserts, right? Those are the kind of signature colors of the two product lines. Uh, both IBM Z and Linux One are the modern mainframe technology for enterprise computing, right? And also it can run machine learning, it can run cloud technologies, cloud native technologies, and a lot of things that um, you familiar today from the high tech areas. So what, like, in order to kind of give you a good idea of the modern mainframe, right? I'll sort of like put it in a perspective to things that you daily use or daily know. And I'll start with the question basically, and then we'll give you answers. So what happens in 1 second, right? So if you think about it, like globally, in 1 second, there is 1,200 Instagram posts. Um, there are 10,000 tweets, right, being posted. There are 98,000 videos which are being watched by people around the world. There are 106,000 searches happen in 1 second, and then there is 1.1 million transactions that run on IBM Z, right? Modern mainframe technology. And yeah, and those transactions are actually secure transactions. There are different kinds of transactions, right? The credit card transactions. There are some retail transactions, and yeah, all that processing actually end up on the mainframe. Even many people don't know that the transactions run on the mainframe. They are actually running there, and I will talk about it more in the next slide. So, what are the industries that run mainframe, right? And if you look into this slide here, there are 7 of top 10 global retailers who run their critical workloads on IBM Z. There are 45 of 50 worldwide banks who run their critical kind of transactional secure workloads on IBM Z. 4 out of 5 um, world's largest airlines, and 8 out of 10 world's largest insurance companies. So, what is a mainframe, right? And we kind of often joke about it. It's best kept secret in the world. So people don't hear about it often, right? But it actually does a lot of heavy lifting in the back So it makes our daily life seamless, right? Um, Things which we used to, we know they never fail. Whether we're making a purchase at the retail or using ATM machine, right? There is a processing that happens in the back in a reliable way and makes it never fail. So we hear for some of the customers who've been running their mainframe systems, right, that some of them have the MTB, mean time between the failures, measuring in decades, right? So they're like 30, 40 years, 50 even years of running um, the machines without failure, right? So, and I have been talking about those transactions, right? 1.1 million transactions that happen in 1 second. So in this chart, we can actually make a deeper look into what actually happens in that one transaction, right? One transaction out of 1.1 million that run per second. And it starts with the user, let's say user using some public network devices, laptops, mobile phones, maybe even ATM machines, right? Kind of interacting with the cloud through some again through the applications, through the browser, right, through devices, through credit cards, and it hits an edge services which are running in the cloud, right? That's where it goes first. There are some edge services which take the request, do some pre-processing, maybe translation, conversion. There would be a cloud application that does some business logic on those transactions. And this is already a secure space, right? So it enters a secure transaction, enters a secure space. There would be, after that, there would be some APIs. And those APIs come from the enterprise integrated services, right? That's where it starts connecting to the actual business and money. Then it goes to the step 6 where you have an enterprise data and enterprise application. So these gray areas in enterprise network is where you actually have the IBM Z systems running. And then they're running those, processing those transactions super fast in a reliable, resilient way. Was the highest level of security, right? So each transaction is encrypted, right? The data is processed, right? And if it's, let's say, again, a banking transaction where you need to do, let's say, you need to move funds from one account or from one bank to another, so you want to make sure that transaction doesn't fail, right? So that the money um, uh, you use you withdraw from one account, you actually deposit the exact same amount to another account, right? And this transaction happens in an unbreakable manner, securely and reliably. And this is what happens then. This is the enterprise computing, right? In the context of kind of the entire end-to-end interaction of user interaction that actually happens and runs on the IBM Z systems here. So as you can see, right, it's way in the back, right? And it is built for scalability, right? Since it services hundreds and millions of users which are interacting with their devices, with the cloud, on this end uh, of the system. Speaking of the use cases, right? Like one example of the kind of modern use cases and modern applications would be fraud detection, right? Which many companies, banks are implementing right now using AI and machine learning, right? So detecting kind of fraudulent transactions and stopping them, right, from happening. There are use cases for anti-money laundering, right? Making sure that there is no money laundering happening, right, with all those banking transactions. And there is a big this is like a big market, right? So the credit card fraud, for example, in 2021 reached the 32 billion, right? The 32 billions of US dollars have been stolen in 2021, right? It's a huge market, huge opportunity, right? So the more we can sort of stop, we can block those fraudulent activities with AI and machine learning running on IBM Z, the better. And specifically with IBM Z, right? So those machine learning um, models, they can do inferencing within milliseconds, within every transactions, right? So those millions of transactions happening per second, you can add fraud detection into every single one in real time with the lowest latencies, right? And that's what's important. Um, in general, talking about not just the fraud detection, but maybe other use cases for artificial intelligence on IBM Z and Linux One, based on surveys of banks, right, and consulting companies doing surveys with financial organizations. So the potential saving from applying AI applications, right, and finance with banks could range in half a trillion US dollars. 80% of banks are highly aware of the potential that AI could help or could do, and yeah, they're actively exploring into it, right? So it used to be that AI machine learning was only used by, let's say, consumer services, consumers, and companies as experimentation. So now AI has entered in the past few years. AI has entered also enterprise market, right? So that's where um, big serious companies, they also kind of actively investing and exploring um, and building AI solutions um, and integrating it into their businesses. The important part of it is, of course, right, that's the difference between, let's say, consumer and enterprise, right? So that's how fast you can do those machine learning AI inferencing, right? So you, like, in enterprise world, everything should happen in the real time, right? And this is where, if you look into the how to do it, right, the 80% of transactions these days, right, they run on-prem systems, right? And that means, AI's modeling should be AI inference. It should also be running on-prem as well, right? So it's important that inferencing will be collocated with the place where transactions are running, right? So because let's say if you have a cloud service which is doing where your AI is running, right, and then you have data transactions being processed on-prem in the data centers, there will be an expensive round trips, right, going to the cloud, doing the inferencing and coming back, bringing it back to the server systems, right? And this is where, in order to achieve real time, right, you would really want to process that, to do that inferencing. Let's say the credit card fraud detection, right, with transactions happening in milliseconds range, right? You want that fraud detection to happen within the same millisecond range. And the only way to do it would be to run it, to collocate it, right, with your data, with your transactions, and do it in the same kind of enterprise systems as the transactions, right? And not all data, let's say, need need the real-time processing, but yeah, 50%, 20% of the data needs to be real time, needs to be analyzed in real time before it loses its value, right? So if you look into the data and insights, some data, it has only value in a short period of time, right? So if you don't do timely processing on that data, the data will lose its value, and then the insights will be also outdated, right? So it's very important, like for that at least 20% of data, that yeah, you do the processing right away as soon as the data, let's say, created, originated. You want to do the processing in place at the same time. Yeah, and from here, maybe we can start shifting focus more into the AI technologies. So according to McKinsey, right, which is a McKinsey survey, which is a global consulting company, right? They did some surveying in 2017, and they did surveying in 2022 across different businesses, right? And the question they asked is how businesses are adopting and leveraging AI technology, right? So in 2017, it was at 20%, right? So the AI adoption was at 20% at the different companies. So then they did the same in 2022, and that number became 50, right? So now it's 2023, so probably it's even higher, right? But you can see this is an amazing growth, right? That in adoption across businesses, right? Just in 5 years, there is 2.5 times growth in the AI technology adoption in businesses. So it is pretty active, right? It's growing pretty fast. And yeah, just recently there is another change that happened or started happening, right? It used to be that companies and businesses, they were adding AI technologies to their existing applications and to their existing processes, right? So it was sort of like AI augmentation of different businesses. AI was used, as additional detection for the fraud, uh, classification, other areas. So the change that is happening now is that many businesses, they start investing and looking into so-called AI plus, right, direction. That's where AI becomes the first consideration, right, and then you build everything around it, right, as a secondary sort. And this is where also IBM is heavily investing in this area, right? So we're kind of supporting this, kind of working on this roadmap and supporting this transition as well. So you could probably hear about Watson X AI, right, and large language models, generative AI. This is where IBM is also providing some services already in IBM Cloud, and there are a lot of activities happening there. You may have also heard about a kind of classification or division of into the eras by Andrej Karpathy, right, who is the director of used to be director of artificial intelligence and autopilot vision at Tesla, right? So he created this kind of classification of software into like 3 eras, right? Software 1.0 is where we did programming in a traditional way, programming by writing the code, right? And this is software 1.0. Software 2.0, right, is where machine learning came into picture, and we started programming by creating data sets, right? And now he's talking about this software 3.0, right, which is like a third generation of how the software is being built, right? And this is now done through programming by prompt engineering, right? So you feed as an input into the large scale meta learnings models, right? So it's basically a model on top of the model. So this is like software 3.0, and this is where we're also talking about AI plus, shift into AI plus technologies. Yeah, and as people, right? So we are clever species, so we kind of have achieved a lot in terms of technologies, up until now. And the way I think, or the reason we became so successful, right? It was that we kind of learn how to take a complex problem and then decompose it into the smaller problems, and then just address and solve that specific problem one by one, right? And then kind of uh, collapse it all back into, compose it all back into the bigger solution, which solved the big problem, right? And this is how we kind of achieved, and this is where we are right now as of today. So, if you look into, for example, Java, even the Java code, the application these days, they have millions lines of Java code, right? And then each Java, let's say, line of code, right? It's each Java, let's say, command instruction is then during the compilation or runtime is converted into another 10 or 100 of processor instructions, like lower level instructions, right? So we're talking about not just millions lines of code in Java, it's actually tens of millions of code or tens of millions of instructions running, right, in every application. So even we achieved this much success, right, with this approach of decomposition, there are some problems which could not be solved in a traditional way. And this is where machine learning comes into picture, right? So let's say if you take an image of a cat and all the possible variations, it's not so easy to kind of decompose it into smaller problems, right? So it's like there were attempts to do it, but those those solutions, like using the rule-based systems to recognize, let's say, to classify cats and dogs images, right? The systems which were built by following traditional rule-based system approach, they were all not successful because they just couldn't handle all the variations, right? There could be thousands of variations, and it's very hard to decompose it into smaller problems, right? And then create a complex solution. So this is where machine learning came really handy, right? And this allows us to we create like a programmatic kind of algorithmic model, and then we can train this model on a series of examples, right? So the neural networks, right? They can be artificial neural networks. They can be trained on images of cats and dogs, right? And then we can feed thousands of images, millions of images, and kind of make sure that that model trains and then can recognize those, can classify those images for us, right? So this is a shift, right, to which allowed us, right, again, as clever species, to kind of address those problems which you could not address earlier, right, with the traditional rule-based programming. And there are different type of machine learning, and I'll just highlight maybe a few just as a reminder, kind of to give you some inspirations into what can you do with machine learning, right? One set of machine learning models is the classification models. And classification models, they assign labels to model and inputs, right, or assign them to specific categories. So some example use cases include fraud detection, right? So you can use the classification model to predict whether a transaction is fraudulent based on patterns in the data, right? So you're basically going to train your model on kind of valid and invalid transactions, and then the model will be able to easily tell whether the next transaction is fraudulent or not, right? Because the model will be able to kind of see those patterns in the data and to kind of be trained on those patterns in the data. Another example would be sentiment analysis, classifying text as positive, negative, neutral. Medical diagnosis, right? So you can assign a label to a specific disease, right, and train the model based on those labels, feeding the data and training the model. Image recognition, right? Recognizing images, objects on the images, kind of helping people by automating some of those computer vision aspects. An example here also of using this type of classification model is spam detection, right? So let's say you label your historical data, like different emails. Some of them are labeled as valid emails, other are labeled, let's say, as spam emails. And then you just train your model on those, and then you put the model in production, and then it can help you to classify the emails and kind of filter out the junk emails before you even see them. Another type of popular machine learning models is the regression models, right? So they make prediction based on the model input. And examples, kind of enterprise examples here, right, would be stock market analysis, right? So you have a series of data, historical data on the market prices, right, and then securities prices, and then this model can actually predict the prices in the future based on the historical data and historical events. Sales, forecasting sales based on historical data is another application for these type of models. In healthcare, right, the outcomes could be of patient could be predicted based on different factors such as age, gender, history, medical history, or treatment plans, right? And in healthcare, you can get prediction in that area. Customer behavior analytics. This is predicting customer purchasing patterns based on kind of demographic data and past purchase history. So these would be the examples of another popular type of machine learning, which is the regression models. So then back to our IBM Z mainframe technologies. So what IBM has done, right, is IBM has built an industry-first integrated AI accelerator in the processor itself, right? So with the Z16, which came out last year, there is a Talon chip, which you see here on the picture is a kind of blueprint, right, of the chip itself. So you have general processor cores, right, highlighted in blue here, and you have cache, processor cache in between, right? There are 8 cores located here, and then in addition, on the same chip, right? So we have put an AI accelerator. We have created an AI accelerator, right, which is a pretty powerful accelerator, and it sits on the same processor cache, right? And that's why it's like industry first integrated AI accelerator, because if you looked into the GPUs, right, so they're running on a system bus, right? This means you have your processor sitting on the bus, you have your memory sitting on the bus, and then you have GPUs on the same bus, right? So it means communication is going over there. So here you have the accelerator on the same chip, right, on the same die, right, as your main cores, right? So it means the processing of the engagement of the AI accelerator happens on the data that's in cache, right, and it's just controlled by the general processor cores here. The speed, right, the speed of the chip is also pretty amazing, right? So it's equivalent of 6 teraflops, right, per second per chip, right? So one single AI accelerator can do 6 teraflops, means per second 6, yeah, yeah, it's basically right. So 6,000 what billions of floating point operations, right? And that's then you can have multiple of those chips, right, in a single server system. So you can imagine the scale of this type of machine that can do for specifically running machine learning models and doing the inference. Then, yeah, if you remember the concept of enterprise computing that I presented on the earlier slides, right? So it put IBM Z mainframe technology as the one running in the back and doing all the heavy lifting, right? So accordingly, like all the solutions, they are architected just taking that into consideration, right? So let's say for AI machine learning, you would take a similar approach, which means you can use any popular frameworks, and you can create your model and train your model on your laptop. You can train it in the cloud somewhere. But then when your model is ready and built, and you're ready to put it in production, right? You want that model to do inference within milliseconds and on every single transaction. This is when you will convert it into like some interchangeable format, right? And then compile it, right? Compile it for the fastest performance and make sure that it aligns the best and leverages the best the hardware specifics of the IBM Z machines. And then you will deploy it on IBM Z16 or Linux One to do the actual inferencing in the production system, right? And here, we have different variations, but yeah, you can convert to Onyx format in case, the model, the framework is not supported on IBM Z. Some frameworks are supported directly on IBM Z, and that's where in our lab, which you'll get access, right there will be popular frameworks already available as it is. So you would not need to convert your models into Onyx. You can just run them directly on IBM Z, because many frameworks actually support it directly on IBM Z, and they can leverage the accelerator. Some of them as TensorFlow, Keras, PyTorch, right? These are supported. But yeah, in case the framework is not supported, for example, Microsoft Cognitive Toolkit is not, then in this case you would have to convert it to Onyx in order to run it on IBM Z. An Onyx format, right, is I think the open neural network exchange format. So this is where any model can be converted to this universal format, and then it can be ported onto different systems, right? Other systems, not only Z. I think there are some other kind of hardware solutions for AI acceleration, which this format is also can be used on. Now, for this specific event, we have prepared a demo environment, and this is where everyone will be able to experience firsthand IBM Z and Linux One platform. And yeah, unlike more traditional, there's the mainframe, the green screen terminal, COBOL, GCL, ZOS. So modern mainframes, right, they provide modern access to the environment. So it's web-based, their same popular languages are supported: Python, Java, Node.js, right? And for the lab, we actually prepared an environment with a more familiar web interface, which is the Jupyter notebooks, right? Which probably from your school environments or from different cloud machine learning environments. So the Jupyter notebooks are running on IBM Linux One. And once you get your registration in Linux One Community Cloud, you'll be able to get to your own Jupyter Notebook instance running on IBM Linux One machine. Within that Jupyter Notebook, there are several popular machine learning frameworks which we have prepared, and those are PyTorch, TensorFlow, SnapML, Scikit-learn, XGBoost, right? So these are the most popular ones are available, and they are actually running on the IBM Linux One machine itself. There is a Docker runtime, right? So you basically will be pulling a container which pre-packages all those for you, so that you can quickly deploy your own instance of machine learning lab environment on your Linux VM system that you will get through the Linux One Community Cloud. And then you can bring up your Docker container pretty quickly, and then you will be able to access it through the web interface. And then from that point on, you will be just using web interface. If something happens, let's say to your model, maybe you just overloaded with too much data, you will be able to kind of restart your container using the SSH into your Linux machine and then Docker runtime. Or you will be able to even restart the Linux VM. If something happens, you'll be able to restart your Linux VM instance. Right? So since IBM Z and Linux One, they are pretty powerful computers, there is a virtualization technology, and that's what we leverage to build the lab. So it means the same machine, in our case, has been partitioned, and we put like a hypervisor on it, and then through hypervisor, like now we can create multiple virtual machines, and that's how during this event you will you'll be kind of requesting your own virtual machines, which will run on hypervisor, and then they will run on a big physical machine. I think the way we would kind of recommend you doing it is not like requesting one VM per person, but maybe one VM per team, right? So that you can collaborate, right? And also, we'll kind of, since it's a shared environment, right? We don't want to sort of overload it, right? Everyone individual will create their own instance, and maybe a machine may be overloaded. So, but yeah, if we can everybody just create one VM per team through the registration, right? That will kind of help you with collaborating on the system, but also I think will be cognizant of other people who are running on the same system. Will be good citizens for other people as well. What else in this system we have? Okay, so yeah, this is the environment. Then let me walk you through quickly the steps, right? How you can get access to your own system. And the first step would be to register in IBM Linux One Community Cloud. Then you will get to the registration form here. In the event code field down here, you would have to put this code here, SacHacks 23. And this will ensure that, you are approved, because, the registration is usually gated. There is a review process in case of SacHacks event code, right? We know you're coming for this event, so this will be instantly approved. You'll get access to your IBM Linux One Community Cloud pretty instantly. After that, you will create your own Ubuntu instance, Ubuntu 22 instance, right? And this is the instance of virtual machine that will be created on Linux One physical server. And this will be just your own instance, right? The virtual instance, but your own instance. You will get, you can upload an SSH key. You can create and upload an SSH key, which you will use to SSH into that Linux instance. After you got your VM provisions through Linux One Community Cloud dashboard, you will then SSH into it using your key. And if you're on Mac or Mac or Linux, you just type in SSH and then input your key, and then the Linux One is the user. I think this is default user in all systems, and then IP address of the machine with your own VM. If you're on Windows, you would have to use the PuTTY SSH, which is an application that you need to install on your Windows machine, and then from there you can establish a SSH session. And there is information about it, which we provide by following this link. After that, you'll pull down and install Docker. Then change the permissions on the Docker and start the Docker runtime. Then fourth step, right? So you will log into the private registry, which hosts the container with the packages, machine learning packages. You will create a shared folder so you can sort of share the data with your container and the system. And you will just run this command to run the container, the Jupyter Notebook container. Once you successfully started your Docker container, you will be able then to use the browser, right? And this is where you can sort of like close the SSH session, and you may not no longer need it, right? But you can still actually interact. If you're more technical savvy, you may still want to interact with your container using SSH. But yeah, you don't have to. After this point, you would just use your browser, and you will just type in the URL and the port where your Docker container is running, the Jupyter notebook. Use the same password that you used in the previous slide here, right? In the command, Docker run command, you would put a password like your token, because yeah, these are public instances, right? So it means each VM that you're getting through Linux One Community Cloud, and then the container that runs on that VM, right? They are accessible from the internet, right? And that's where you want to make sure that you use your specific password here, so that if someone can guess your IP address, at least they cannot guess your password, right? So that's how you will just secure your specific instance, and will share within your team the access to that instance. There are several demo notebooks which we have prepackaged, right, to make it an easier start for you. So you can just click. There are three notebooks, Jupyter notebooks. You can click on them. They come with data, prepackaged data, and so on. And will be like a prerequisite for you, right? So it means we expect you to come up with your own project, right? Your own submission, your own machine learning model that you will deploy and run on this Jupyter notebook on Linux One environment. But these samples, they will sort of can serve you as a reference, right? This is like a prerequisite, so you can just play with them, you can run them, you can get a feeling of how the Jupyter notebooks can run on Linux One environment, and it will sort of like also demonstrate to you that yeah, these are the notebooks you can run anywhere else. You can run it on your laptops, you can run them in, let's say, in the cloud, like Google Colab environments, and you can run them on Linux One, right? So once you go through those sample notebooks, then you can create your own in here, and then just put your code and make sure that you run it on Linux One, and make it work and align with Linux One values and IBM-Z Linux One values. So we do expect, and this is like very important criteria, right, of judging the submissions. Yeah, we do expect to see some evidence that you actually did run your code, your Jupyter notebook on Linux One environment, right? So we expect you to share screenshots, right, and some videos maybe included in your submission, where you're actually showing us that yes, you indeed was able to run your machine learning on Linux One environment. We actually prepackage a lot of packages, so most of packages, I think, which you may require should be already on it. If you don't find it, there is a way to install it, and there are FAQ questions which we provide. One of the questions demonstrates how you can install packages that are missing. So, for example, how can I install a missing package, right? And in this case, you would do like import of the system package, and then do the pip install on your specific package, like TensorFlow datasets, for example, you can install, since they're not prepackaged. But TensorFlow itself is available, but TensorFlow datasets, right, those are sample datasets. You can install them additional. You can install all other packages as well. In some cases, it may be challenging to do the installation of the package because, again, IBM-Z mainframe is a different processor architecture. So it means if your package is a Python code, then there is no issue because Python is platform independent, right? Platform agnostic. However, if some of the packages, like open source packages, they require like they include some native code like C, C++ code, right? And that code needs to be compiled in order to run on IBM-Z on a different processor architecture, right? So that's where, yeah, some packages, may not be able to unless you kind of compile, which is a lengthy process. And this deck will be also shared. We have a GitHub instruction with the same FAQ and the same information. But yeah, in case, let's say you run into a problem, then cross-check against this deck. Quickly screen through those frequently asked questions, see if there is an answer. If not, then you have IBM mentors supporting you in the Discord, and you will be able to help you, right, and address your issues there. All right, so then another important part, right, for you in order to come up with a solution, right, is where to get the data, right? And yeah, we encourage you to use the data from different public sources. There are a lot of public data sets available for machine learning, right? Which, whether it's kaggle.com or data.gov, right? So government organizations provide all of its data to the public, right? They kind of legally required to do it. Universities, some universities, they do share the data, right? You can look into UCI or UC Davis. They provide the data there. Other government organizations, the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, Federal Reserve, right? They share the data. There's some COVID data. Some medical centers, they provide the data as well. As far as judging criteria, right? So we will be looking into like 3 categories when kind of evaluating your submissions, and this is where, of course, we'll check into the value to the community. How practical is your idea? How creative it is? How much novel it is? But also, right, and this is where I would like to kind of stress again that, yeah, we expect you to leverage IBM Z and Linux One environment, right, for your machine learning, for analytics, for your data. We want you to run and validate your application, your solution, IBM Z Linux One, and also provide the evidence of you doing it, right? So it doesn't have to be the entire solution, yeah, but it could be as again, in reference to the enterprise computing diagram, you could see, right, that the way of applying IBM Z and mainframe in the solution, right, is usually in the back, kind of running the mission critical transactional workloads. So it means you can have your, let's say, front end web interface running somewhere else, but then your actual transaction processing, your actual machine learning would have to reside on Linux One Z to do this real time processing, real time inferencing, right? That's where, yeah, those parts you would want to put and show it in your submission, that, yeah, those parts of your application actually running on Linux One. This is where you have your, let's say, model, your data, right, and you kind of collocating it all on IBM Z Linux One systems. And yeah, the other parts of the solution could be running, on other places, like whether your laptops for demonstration purposes, or maybe somewhere in the cloud, leveraging some free tiers. That doesn't matter. You can also run everything, right, on IBM Z Linux One as well, right? So again, Python is supported. You can bring up Node.js. You can run your Python Flask server there. There are many flexibilities, right? So the Linux One IBM Z machine, you will have like an Ubuntu Linux running, right, which is similar Ubuntu as you know it from, let's say, from your x86 or cloud experience. Then anything you can do on Ubuntu, you should be able to do on the Ubuntu, which is running on a different processor architecture, which is Linux One IBM Z. Again, of course, if it's something that's written in a high level language like Python, Node.js, Java, right, then doesn't require compilation, right, then it's usually portable. If it is something written in C, C++, requires compilation, which may be actually time consuming to do it. So in that case, you may want to, like, if let's say your application is C, C++, yeah, you may want to look into either compiling or maybe running it somewhere, but at least make sure that you show which parts of your application will be running on IBM Z and benefiting from IBM Z Linux One architecture. All right, and this concludes my presentation today. Here, the recap of the important links, right? So number one, you would have to register in IBM Linux One Community Cloud. Don't forget to put the event code in the description, SacHacks 23, that's the event code. There is a link and QR code for the instruction here. This deck will be also posted in the Discord channel. Then after that, once you register, you will get access to your own Linux VM, Ubuntu VM instance, and then bring up your Jupyter lab container. And here's a link to the instruction for that with the QR code. Um, there is a Docker repo, private Docker repo, which runs in the lab environment, and it has a login and password. Yeah, make sure to use this when you do the Docker login. And then Jupyter Lab, the default password is your token, but this is the one you're going to change when you kind of run your container with Docker run. You would either use the default or you may want to change it as well. All right, thank you. That concludes my presentation. And yeah, I would like to wish you the best luck when experimenting and building your solutions and submitting them and winning. All right, thank you.
For your great presentation, Alex. All right. Yeah. That concludes our opening presentation. Make sure to scan this QR code and complete the check-in form. The check-in form is how you let us know that, what teams you're participating in, and it also has quite a lot of important information regarding the code of conduct and all the other things that we discussed on earlier. If you have any questions, please ask it on the Discord channel. We'll be able to answer you as soon as we can. And yeah, best of luck for your project. We are really, really, really looking forward to seeing you at all of our workshops, and also we're greatly looking forward to seeing what innovative ideas y'all come up with.
Yeah, thank you so much for watching the workshop so far. And only if you fill the check-in form will we know that you're actively participating in the hackathon, and you will be providing us with a submission. So please, please, please make sure to submit your check-in form. And it'll be available on the Discord server as well as this QR code right here. Thank you so much and have a great hackathon.